Joe.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good.
Is that a new mule there behind you?
No, I've had that one there for a while.
Oh, have you? Man.
Yeah, it turned, so maybe it was turned or something.
Dang, dude, he looks sweet right there, though.
Yeah, that's a cool deer.
Is that a Wyoming deer?
Yeah, way
Nice.
up Sunlight Basin back in there, like 12 miles. We were on
Oof.
horses.
Ooh. Dang, that's a heck of a
Yeah.
hunt. Though that's what you got to get if you're going to go that far in there, though.
Well, you can find them a little bit closer, but that migration through there is pretty awesome. And we were just back in there, and that was back when it was actually pretty phenomenal deer hunting up there. That was probably '03. I killed that deer.
Oh man, so it's been a minute then, huh?
Yeah,
You were just a
yeah,
baby when you shot that thing.
yeah. It's been a while. So
Nice, dude. Well, how's life been, dude? I haven't talked to you for a minute.
it's been a long time, buddy. I don't even know how many years. Couple, anyways, probably,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, it was gosh dang, it had to have been at least 2 years ago. Well, we're trying to get me up there and do some bear hunting with you, and
And huh?
just never could make it work. You still getting out quite a bit?
Yeah, yeah. And as much as I can, life's busy, but I still prioritize in the spring.
Yeah.
Save a lot of my time to go in the spring. And I tell you, I hunted a ton in the fall this year. I didn't kill a
Oh,
spring
really?
bear, and I hunted a bunch in the fall, which I haven't had to do in the last few years. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, I learned a bunch.
Did you get one?
It's no, I found a great one that I was chasing around for a couple days, and uh, coincidentally, my buddy had a mountain goat tag in that unit, and I found a mountain goat for him, and he ended up going and getting that. Never did see the bear again, and yeah, so it's a little tougher here, fall bear hunting in Northwest Wyoming. It's just dry.
Oh, man.
There's just not a concentration of berries,
Hmm.
so and those bears are just moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're hard to pin down.
Dude, that's my honestly bear hunting, like fall bear hunting is tough. I think for a lot of reasons. Like I think they're harder to hunt in the fall, but then well, kind of like that with the mountain goat hunt. There's always other hunts going on that, no offense to
Yeah,
bears, but it kind of takes the priority. You know what I mean?
yeah, and like I just was more or less it opened and I had a tag, and I also had an archery bull tag, so I was kind of like going back and forth. But early in archery season in September, it was just so hot here, and
Oh,
the elk were just it was just tough, and it was so hot, and you can't get an elk out real fast, where I hunt. So it's like, geez, you need to kind of wait for it to cool down. So I was just kind of using that time when it was warm. And
uh-huh.
that's the other thing, it's just hot. And if you live in Oregon or Washington, fall bear hunting is remarkable, but it's just a different habitat they live in. And
Yeah.
you can concentrate on berries, Northwest Montana, stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't remember who I was talking to. Somebody up in Washington, in the state of Washington, was talking about that. That like in the fall, it's actually pretty easy to hunt bear up
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah, it is. And probably more so than the spring. They love their spring hunts, but there's just so much food in the fall and they just
Yeah,
concentrate, kind of
yeah,
like what happens with us in the spring in green grass.
right. Oh, that's awesome, man. I've only hunted bear one time, and I think maybe I told you, maybe I didn't, but I hunted bear
Yeah.
in Colorado that one time, and man, it was such a grind. Like I hiked my butt off because it's just spot and stock in Colorado. You can't bait or use dogs or anything. I think I
Yep.
put more miles on my boots bear hunting than I did elk hunting that year. It was crazy.
Yeah. And Colorado's got a lot of bears. I think it's just a matter of where you're at and the habitat kind of, they don't have a spring season down there. And
Right.
most guys, when it comes time for fall, they're so focused on elk. It's actually a place I want to travel to and bear hunt because I just think it'd be for a
Really.
guy that wants to bear hunt, it'd be awesome.
Really, that's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah,
You don't hear many people that want to just go to Colorado to bear. You know what though? I mean, I've seen a ton of bears there, like around Grand Junction area. There's
yeah.
a ton of bears around there. I hunted down by. Do you know where Pagosa Springs is?
Mhm.
So that's where I was at. Was down by
Yeah.
there, and I mean it was a blast, and saw a lot of good elk, and saw bear and whatnot. But yeah, it's a different style of hunting. It's all spot and stalk, so it's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it just is one of those deals. After you get doing it a little bit, you kind of learn some things. But when you're in a new area, it's always tough.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, that's
know,
true.
it's not easy bear hunting, but it's a little bit easier when you're hunting the places that you usually hunt.
Well, that's why I want to come over there to Wyoming with you because you know that area. Like that's just your backyard, you know. So it'd be really super easy to hunt up there. You know, that's half the fun though of going someplace new is just learning the territory and learning a different like state and a different unit and whatnot. But I don't know. That's why I've always wanted to come up there and hunt bear with you because that's like your backyard up there, man.
You just need to keep bugging me, and I get man. This year it's like we got the 360 deal with Taylor, and then I got Montana Knife Company guy coming, and they're all friends, and
Yeah.
it ends up you go on one hunting trip, and then you become buddies, and Bear Hunting Magazine guy, and so it's just like early in the year you just need to pester me and be like, hey dude, let's go bear hunting. And honestly, like I kind of like to go to new areas now.
Hmm.
Not that these that I hunt or we're just got such a major issue with grizzly bears. I get kind of burnt out of like busting my butt and hunting hard for 20 days in May or
Yeah.
May through June, and then you're seeing 8 grizzly bears to 1 black bear. It's like, dude, man, it
Yeah.
gets annoying. And I know it's not every year like that, but I enjoy going to new spots and like seeing new country. And I think it's a challenge that I enjoy.
Yeah, I think so too. What's the latest on the Grizzlies up there in Wyoming? I haven't heard anything lately.
Well, it's kind of a mess because right before the election, there had been a petition in the state of Wyoming. The states of Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho have filed a petition to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service asking them for a delisting rule,
Hmm.
basically saying, hey, we provided all the information. We did what we were supposed to do, what the judge asked us to do, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We did all that. And you haven't ruled on this yet. So now we were filing a petition. We want a ruling, and they drug their feet. And so for like 2 years, they never gave us a ruling, any of us, the
Hmm.
states. And so the states came out, and like Governor Gordon here in Wyoming was like, we're going to sue the U.S. Fish and Wildlife
Yeah.
Service unless you give us an answer.
Yeah.
And they put a deadline on it. Well, the deadline was right before the election. Well, not to get into politics, but you knew where that was going to
Yeah.
head. They not only came out and said we're not delisting, we're going to pretty much make it impossible to ever delist. They
Oh
said
my
now
gosh.
the demographic monitoring area, the recovery zone, they expanded it. And they said now you have to do all the things that we wanted you to do, but in this giant, bigger area. Well, Trump got in and just basically is like, listen, so they were going to have comment period and everything right now for that.
Uh-huh.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service just came out and said, like, that's all on hold. We're on hold with all this stuff. So the new director actually, I haven't heard if he's been confirmed or not yet, but many people in Wyoming might know him. He used to be our Game and Fish Commissioner, was appointed by
Oh.
Trump to be the new director of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, which
Oh.
could be amazing for us dealing with grizzly bears. Just because he's been a
He
Wyoming game
knows.
warden, he's been the Wyoming Game and Fish Commissioner, and the issues we have in Wyoming are not much different than the issues in Montana and Idaho with grizzly bears. So I think
Right.
like he understands it more than anyone. Um, but I don't know if he's been appointed yet or when that happens. And that is that I'm hoping though. I'm hoping it's soon, and he gets the ground running, and we get some traction on moving the needle on these things.
That's what I was thinking, man. I feel like kind of been at a standstill forever, and the longer you go on it, the more the more populated they're going to be, and it's going to get ridiculous. Well, it sounds like it already is ridiculous. If you're seeing more grizzlies than black
It
bears,
is, and I think the hard thing is like anyone like me, like we always get. I think we get pigeonholed into this category that we hate grizzly bears.
yeah,
We don't hate grizzly bears. Most of
right?
us out here, we don't hate them.
No,
They're remarkable species. They're cool to see. I want to one day hunt them in
yeah,
Wyoming. I've hunted them in Alaska, but like, I just we're to a point where the social acceptance of them is so low that it's just a tough situation for recovering a species and maintaining recovery when social acceptance is so low. Everyone out here's tired of them, and all we
yeah,
want is we want the ability to manage them like we do all the other species. The
Right.
states know better than the federal government does, and courts.
Yeah.
A judge in Missoula does not know how to manage wildlife.
Right.
Like the guys that recovered the bear since 1976, those are the people we should be listening to. They're the ones that got it to the level it's at, but we don't, in this country. So I'm hoping there's some change. I don't know.
Man, I hope there is. It honestly is about time. I've got good friends up there from, PAL and whatnot that, they say the same thing. It's like, gotta get something changed so we can finally start hunting. You killed one in Alaska, right? You killed a grizzly in Alaska?
I did.
That's right. I remember
I
you
did.
telling
Yeah,
me that.
I did a little different hunt up there. I went and did like they call them an Arctic grizzly. They're just
Right.
they're a grizzly. They're on the north slope of the Brooks Range where I hunted, so way up by
okay.
Prudhoe Bay, like way up at
That's
the top
cold.
of the United States, and just wanted a rugged, challenging hunt that was more like I'm used to hunting. So
Yeah.
tons of glassing, sitting, big mountains, vast, and like it was so cool. And their color is cooler than any grizzly bear. Like my bear ended up being like almost blonde.
Oh, really?
Yeah, beautiful boar, like with dark circles on his eyes, and yeah, so that was kind of what I went after and was able to do it. And quite honestly, the coastal brownies were out of the question as far as price goes, and this was one that I could kind of afford.
Right.
And did the unthinkable and mortgaged basically took a second loan out on my pickup truck and just said, you only live once. So
hey, dude,
went and did it.
That's the way I'm living my life right now. If there's any way that I can make something happen, I'm going to make it happen. So you got to live while you
I
can.
want to die with experiences.
Exactly. You can't take money with you, so you might as well just go at it. My problem is I don't have money. So I guess I don't have money and I can't go do these things anyway. So
it's tough. Well, I'm learning too, like there's so many adventures in this country that we overlook.
Yeah.
I've gone to Kyrgyzstan and done some pretty crazy hunts in Canada and Alaska and stuff. I'm like, man, and now I'm thinking about, I'm like, I desperately want to like bear hunt in Arizona and I want to bear hunt in like California. I'm like, those are right here. Like I could go do those for not a lot of money. And you're, beg, stealing and borrowing to go on these crazy adventures. I'm like, we have so much of it right here that we just don't think of,
Yeah. I am going to Canada this year to go hunt bear. Did I tell you that?
Nice. Are you?
Yeah, we're heading out in the end of May. We're gonna head up to up in Saskatchewan and go hunt bear. I am so excited about it.
Dude, it is. It's next level, and you're gonna get spoiled up there.
Yeah.
When you come down here, it's not nothing like it. Who are you going with up there?
Oh crap! What's the name of the outfitter? I'll have to find it and text it to you because I can't remember the name of it. So my buddy that I'm going with, he went and hunted moose there the last 2 years. He shot a really nice moose there last year, and he did hunt some bear, I think, while he was there, but didn't ever make it happen. I mean, I think he only tried for like half a day or something like that, so didn't make it happen. And they're like, yeah, come back up and hunt bear with us. And so he called me up. He's like, hey, do you want to go hunt bear in Canada? And I'm like, freak yeah, dude, let's do this. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a different.
So you're gonna bow hunt with sit in a stand?
Yeah, we're gonna take our bows and sit in a stand. That was kind of what we like. We really want to take it with our bows. I think that's just like half the fun.
Well, and that's the perfect opportunity to do it, right? Yeah. Like they'll set you up. I've hunted up there a few times, and it's just a different. There's a lot of bears. It's so remote in some of those areas. Those bears just do that. Like people don't. They just don't even register. I mean, I had one time I was in Alberta when this one happened, and I had a bear come up a tree, and just like they're just like, what are you, and confused, and it's a cool opportunity to get one with your bow.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Oh man, I honestly I can't wait. Well, I've never hunted bear. It's just something that's been on my bucket list for a very long time, and so that's when he's like, let's go do this. I'm like, oh man, and kind of your point, like we're gonna get spoiled, so it is gonna be a little bit of a spoiled hunt. It's not gonna be like. Well, I guess I did hunt bear that in Colorado that one time, but didn't take one. But like that one, I walked and I hiked and I killed myself during that hunt. And this one's probably gonna be a little bit different than that.
It's tricky though too because you'll the coolest thing for you is gonna be to like observe bears. Mm-hmm. Like that's the one nice thing about bait hunting is not the one. There's a lot of great things about bait hunting and I love it, but. Man, you get an opportunity to kind of observe bears that you don't spot in stock hunting because typically you're like, oh, there's one, let's go.
Yeah.
And then you get over there and you're looking, and when you're spotting, so when you're in a bait and close up in a tree stand, and you can hear them chewing, and you can just watch their mannerisms, how they walk, how they move, all their, and then their social structure. When they get multiple bears at a bait site, you can kind of monitor that and watch it. It's like you learn more about bears doing that than any other form of hunting, I think.
So when you're sitting there, like when you went up there and did it, like you're sitting in that blind and you're having multiple bears come in and you're not pulling the trigger, like you're kind of waiting for like your specific, like what you want.
Yeah, there were times in Alberta, I had like 5 days of not even seeing a bear and sitting, and I went late in May. So, I mean, it is friggin' light until like midnight up
that's
there.
true.
I was almost in the Northwest Territories in Alberta, and finally the last day, or the last couple days, I was kind of moving around in stands, and I'd watch the cameras, and I'm like, they're all nice bears, and I didn't want to just kill a bear to kill one.
Yeah.
And they're all black, and I've got a lot of them. So I was like, I just want to kill like a really mature big bear or something with some character.
Yeah.
And the last 2 days I sat in one stand. The one day I went in at like right at light and sat till the very end when I couldn't come out, when I couldn't see anymore. And I ended up having like 6 bears that day, I think. And like the big one that I wanted to kill was kind of in the background, just never would come in. And yeah, so you're watching the bears, but you're kind of like, okay, that one is coming in, and it is definitely like not a big bear. And then you kind of watch that bear to get an indication of it's a decoy, right? If the bear's already there, it's going to be easier for other bears to come in, and you can watch the mannerisms. Like if that bear's super nervous and skittish, the bigger one's coming or there, and so. Yeah, and then there's been a couple times that day there was like 3 or 4 sitting on the site when I had to walk down, and I was at 12 yards.
Oh my gosh.
And I sat there forever, and I was like, dude, well, I mean, this is just going to go one way or the other, and only one way is good for me. And so I kind of walked down, made a little noise. They kind of ran off a little bit from what I could see in like the silhouette in the dark, and then they just kind of stood by the barrel, and I walked over to the 4-wheeler, and then the outfitter met me, and we drove out, and I was like, yeah, I didn't know if I should just stay here until you got me out. Now, he was pretty lax with me, but your outfitter might be like, you don't move until I come get you. And, I don't know what their rules will be, but yeah, just enjoy the whole experience of it. Like the not knowing is even funner.
See, now you're getting like, I was excited before, and now you're getting me even more excited. It's like, hey, dude, I can't wait.
There's nothing like it.
Hey, I got a question for you on that. So I was, I started researching and everything, kind of geek out on stuff. But one of the things they were telling me with a bow is you got to make sure that you shoot a little bit further back on the animals. Like you don't go like into the, like where you shoot a deer, you shoot right in the pocket, kind of where that heart's going to be.
Yeah, don't do that with the bear, even with the rifle.
Oh, really? Where do you aim? Are you aiming like, where should I aim with my bow?
So a lot of guys, I think every person has like a specific spot that they're like, this is where, and they'll tell you. Like for me, it is mid-body height-wise. Okay.
Okay.
So top of the back to the bottom of the belly, pick the middle of that.
Okay.
And then move over to the edge of the shoulder blade. So I like to be like right off the shoulder. If I'm using my rifle, I'm going to try and almost like bust the shoulder, but their heart is like tucked in weird. They have all that brisket and fur that is kind of like where the pocket is on a deer or an elk. You could miss that. Or you could hit it just a little low and you're not going to even be in vital. So they kind of call it the middle of the middle. So if a bear is standing with its nose out, just neck out, standing there, like normal, I find the tip of the nose, and I make a line back, and then I find the shoulder blade edge and I make a line down. That's where I aim.
Okay.
And then with the bow, just take it off of that edge a little bit just so you don't hit shoulder, but you're going to be really close too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to hit shoulder, but you'll hit lung there.
Okay.
If you're off of that shoulder to the right or left, whatever way you're facing, but middle body, like middle height, that's better.
On a deer, it's always, I'm always going a little bit. I mean, there's sometimes I'll be higher and I'll double, try to double lung him, but for the most part, I'm a little bit lower trying to hit that heart, trying to get a quicker kill.
I don't know if I've killed a bear hitting it in the heart, and I just have this spot where I aim, and it's worked. And I learned the hard way. I lost 2 bears. The first 2 bears I ever shot a
Oh.
long time ago, I lost them both. I didn't know, like I was young and didn't know how to bear hunt, just learning. And I was aiming like I do on an elk or a deer,
Right.
and I'd roll them and then I'd find a little bit of blood and then never could find them, never could find them. And I kind of found out through like trial and error, unfortunately. And I'm assuming I hit him where I aimed and hit him in that low brisket or hit the front leg or something. But yeah, if you just have a smaller you have a greater margin for error in those areas than trying to aim in that pocket and trying to hit heart, because it's like the heart's down there and then the lungs are up here.
Right.
So there's some backspace and then that heart is just so hard to hit on a bear unless they're really reaching forward. Yeah, I aim for that middle kind of right off of that shoulder edge, and you'll get them in the lungs.
Okay. Yeah, I've no one's actually come out and said it, so I'm like, I've got to ask somebody this question. But I've heard people like during certain videos talk about like, yeah, I'm a little bit further back. You don't want to shoot a bear the way you shoot an ungulate. You want to shoot them back different, and so. Okay, so draw that line mid-body, right behind the shoulder, and go just a little bit back from that.
Yeah, with your bow, that's what I would do, man. And you're gonna get, if you're in a tree stand, you're gonna get some down angle, and so like it depends on how far you are and how big the bear is, but you should minimally be able to hit that spot where you aim at middle, and then like with that the trajectory of the arrow, it shouldn't come out too low that you're not gonna hit lung, and you're gonna have a lower exit on the opposite side, so the blood will drain out and not be like a through high. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so you
absolutely.
don't get as much drain if you have to track them. They're insanely hard to track even when there's a little bit of blood.
Well, are bears like deer? Like do they run a long ways after they're shot with a bow, or do they just run a little bit and then stop?
Both.
Okay.
All the ones I've killed with a bow have died really fast.
Okay.
I killed one in Nova Scotia with a bow that I maybe made it 30 yards and I heard it death moan.
Wow.
I did shoot one in Saskatchewan, a big bear with my bow, and made a bad shot. I was a little too low. And the bear and the trajectory of the arrow, the bear ran about 20 yards, and I mean, it was a miracle, but it stopped and was like trying to gather itself in like one of the that is so thick in that country. I could shoot over some trees and see it in this little clearing, and I shot it again and it died.
Okay.
And then I shot one other one with my bow. Yeah, so like yeah, I've not seen them go like terribly far if they're hit good. I think you're just hemorrhaging blood, and
okay.
I think it's like there's that theory that people have, the gun scares them, so they run farther.
Right.
They don't know they're shot, and they hear that. When they get hit with the bow, they might not know what hit them, and they just kind of run. They're like, "What is going on?" and then fall over.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I kind of figured they wouldn't go too far, especially because it's so thick up there anyways. They're probably just going to want to get out of wherever they had that and then just kind of settle down. And I've heard about the death moan as well, that you can hear that death moan. As soon as you hear that, you pretty much know that's right where they're going to be found. They're going to be dead on the ground right there.
Yeah. And they don't do it all the time, but and not everyone will, but when you hear that, you're usually in pretty good shape. Now I've heard it. My nephew killed a bear and I heard it. So I go in after the bear. It was his first bear. He's 12 years old, and I got down there, and the thing was popping its jaws at me and woofing, and it was in this really thick pocket of brush that I was like, "Oh my gosh, that thing's still alive!" Jeez. Well, he wounded it, and the bear was down there just pissed off and bellowing, and I was like, "That's a death moan," We tracked that bear for 2 days. I never did find that bear, and I think he just hit it low, and the bear was upset, man, and hurting, so and down in there death moaning. So.
Oh man, well, I'm excited. I think it's going to be and I'll send you pictures hopefully of a good big bear that we get up there. But
that would be so cool, man.
Dude, I cannot wait just to have the experience too. I've never been to Canada, so it's going to be fun just going to Canada for one, and then to be able to go and hunt black bear while I'm up there with my bow. Like, it's honestly a dream come true. And so, yeah, excited to get up there. But so I want to get into 360 Sportsman. That's really what I want to talk to you about today. But before we get into that, tell me what's going on with American Bear Foundation, man. I haven't, I follow you on socials and whatnot, but let's hear from the man. What's going on?
It's just been so busy, and we're growing at a level that is not like, I mean, we're not like a rocket ship going into space with our growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good growth. Like we have a nice kind of like trajectory where we're not growing too fast to where we can't keep up, as we're all volunteers still, right? So,
Right.
our growth is going to be limited to the ability of our volunteers. But knowing that we're still, on kind of this positive trend line of growth, which is really good for us
Good.
because we can kind of do it right that way. And so, we got several chapters now, which was probably new since the last time I talked to you.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have the capacity to do chapters. We amended our bylaws as a national board, and now we can accept chapters, and the chapters have their own bylaws. They have their own chapter charter and everything. And so,
Wow.
yeah, that's helped our growth because now we have vested people in those areas that are like watching out for issues or watching out for bears and bear hunters. Whereas in the past, it would have to be a national board member trying to like backfill the whole United States. It was really hard.
Right.
And I don't know the issues that might be going on in Virginia, like someone in Virginia knows. And so it just was the right thing. It was always a goal of ours to do
Right.
that. I didn't think we'd be there yet, but it's been going really good. Several of our chapters have had fundraisers. They're doing projects in their states, and it's been neat to see. There's always frustrations. For me, probably the biggest frustration is like how long it takes to get some things done being all volunteer,
Right.
and money is always one,
Yeah.
and to get to the next level, it's like, we're close to being there and we're just not yet, but it's, we got some amazing members, and we got some great chapters. We're doing so much work for bears and bear hunters,
Nice.
which is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And being all volunteer, we can ensure that like no one's paid. So when we raise money, it goes back to the effort. And
Nice.
that's something we're really proud of at the American Bear Foundation. And I think our supporters are proud of that too.
Yeah.
That they give money or however way they support us,
Yep.
whether it's time or money or whatever. I think they have a little more buy-in because they're like, man, those guys, I'm supporting something that is not paying a guy's office or,
Exactly.
and there's nothing wrong with that. And each nonprofit in the hunting and conservation space probably wants to be there if they're not already, because that just means you've grown to a level. You can do so much more when you have paid staff. We're going to probably be there at some point,
Right.
and we're going to have to cross that bridge of being like, hey, now we're not all volunteer. But if we are at that point, I can guarantee to everyone listening, like, we will be there with a lot of thought and a lot of consideration about, doing it the right way so that what we're doing on the ground doesn't suffer
Right.
to put someone in place. And so that's a lot of the conversations we have as a board now, is how does that look? How many years out? I just did a 3, 5, 10-year plan for us, and kind of like, there's some crazy thoughts in the 10-year, and
Yeah.
it's like, and at some point too, like I need to be not maybe the guy that the founder and the president, and I'm okay with like someone better than me at this is out there.
Yeah. Right.
And
But
we're going to reach a point where it's like, I just always have this fear that if something happens to me, like, and so we're crossing that right now. We're kind of working through some of what that looks like as far as like who would be a backup, who can help. Not that something's going to happen to me. I'm not going anywhere, but it's life. So,
yeah.
just want to make sure that the foundation and what we're doing is set up for our kids and grandkids to enjoy the fruits of. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
That's awesome, man. I do hope that it gets to a point where, I mean, and Joe, I'll be honest, I mean, that's cool that it's volunteer and you got a lot of people that are involved in it and everybody's doing it volunteer, because that means people love what the whole thing stands for, like that's really what it's about. But when you can move to that point of, like you said, when you get paid staff, well, then their whole time is dedicated to that. I mean, you're still trying to put food on the table, but so you got to have money to do that, but at the same time trying to run this foundation. And so when you can move to, doing it full time, then it, it allows you to do more things. So that 5-10 year plan is even that much cooler, when you're able to do that.
Yeah.
So hopefully you get to that point.
Yeah,
You will.
It's always been
It's
been a big point of emphasis for me is I don't want to be the paid guy. Like I'm okay going off or being in a supporting role, but like for me personally and what I did this for and started this for and why I do it now was never about money. And I just want to continue like we are going to have that volunteerism is going to be so crucial in all these organizations,
Right.
and not taken away from what a paid member, but I do think that the people that end up, down the road becoming paid staff for us are going to be, elite at their job, and they won't need me in the leadership role that I am in now. I'll be the guy that they come to with quite like, what is going on with this, or how do we do this? And that's kind of how I envision, 10 years from now for me.
Nice. Do you have a chapter here in Utah yet?
Not yet.
Dude, let's get it going, man.
Shockingly, we have several Western states that haven't chapterized yet. And what I've found is the chapters come whenever there's major pushback against bear hunting. And so Washington spun up really fast when they lost their spring hunt. And California was going to lose hunting altogether for bears, and that spun up fast. Sometimes it takes something getting taken away from you until you realize how important it is. And then that's when a chapter wants to form. And they're very easy. We do most of the groundwork, and it's just a matter of having someone that's willing to, kind of take the lead on it. And that scares a lot of people.
Yeah.
You don't have to go stand up and talk in front of people, but there has to be a lead. And then you kind of like, now that we have other chapters, you can model chapters. You can model your chapter after some of what our other chapters have done. And so, we're working on, we never had one in Montana, Idaho, or in Wyoming because our original organization was founded in those 3 states. And so we don't need a chapter. We're kind of in these 3 states. And then now that we're national, I'm in Wyoming, so it's pretty easy for me to get Wyoming stuff and do that. But I'm like, man, we need a chapter in Montana and Idaho now. A lot of bear hunters, and we still don't yet. And we got a lot of people interested, but it's just a matter of someone that's like, listen, I can do this.
Well, the thing is like, I mean, it does take some time, but you look at what it does for bear hunting in that area, or what it allows you to do. I guess I should say that what it allows you to do, like especially like Idaho, man. I think that's a no-brainer. We should definitely have one there.
I think there's people out there. It's just being able to connect with the right one.
Yeah. Oh man.
Because you don't just want volunteers, you want good ones.
Right.
And you want a board that forms up that's got, 5 to 7 or 9 willing people that are willing to, like I said, geez, these chapter guys, you can put as much work in as you want, but to just get one off the ground, I mean, you're not even talking multiple hours a week.
Right.
Whereas it's gotten to the point now where I'm, probably 2 hours, hour and a half a night, doing bear foundation stuff. But the chapters, when I get them in those states, it really helps.
Yeah.
It helps us because they're doing a lot of the legwork that I can focus more on, stuff like this.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, yeah, I don't think you had any chapters last time we did a podcast. And so that's definitely new and different. So, I mean, that kind of speaks to the growth that you guys have been having. And like you said, and having it national too, because Western bear hunting is very different than Eastern bear hunting. All that stuff that happens, like you said, Virginia, New Jersey, all those areas, like it's a different game out there.
Night and day. And I tell you what, a lot of those people you think, some of them, that's the only game for them as far as hunting goes. They might whitetail hunt and bear hunt. They don't have elk, they don't have some of the things that we do out west that we take for granted. There's no antelope or pronghorn or whatever, and there's no elk, and they only have one species of deer. We can go out and get 2 deer tags, and so for them, their passion for bear hunting is, I mean, off the charts, and they're willing to do whatever it takes. So kind of galvanizing that out east has been really big for us, and there's already a lot of bear kind of hunting organizations out there. There's some in statewide, and then there's regional wide ones, and most of them are kind of set up per your method. So there's a lot of hound hunting organizations out there, which are great, and we support all of that. But so it's you don't want to kind of like overstep your bounds, because if they're doing good in that state, like who cares if we're there? You're kicking butt. We don't need to be there. We would like to be a resource for them, nationally. Be like, hey, if you got an issue, like let me rally the troops nationally. Let's come at this let me get our biologists that work with our foundation on these issues. And so that's kind of how I look at it. I don't know if we'll ever have chapters in all states, but if they're already doing good work, like, let's just help you out. Like, you don't need an American Bear Foundation chapter there. You already are crushing it. So,
well, that's the cool thing is you can team up with them too. Like if they're doing really well, but you're also, able to help out and have people that can be involved and just have more out or, more reach with that, then why not? Thinking, go back to Utah and kind of my thoughts there was like, Utah, it's good here. We can use hounds to hunt bear, sometimes during the year and in some areas. But I do worry, honestly, what the future of bear hunting is in Utah. Well, I worry about a lot of the management of animals in Utah. But so like, I'm just thinking about it. Like, I feel like I wish somebody would do it here, just kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit, because I feel like if we don't, we're going to sit on our hands too long, and then it's going to be a completely different landscape.
The writing is on the wall right now in the West. During legislative session this year, we've seen a lot of states and a lot of legislation pushing to this like complete eradication of predators.
Yeah.
We fought a bill in Wyoming that was gonna basically give you a bear tag if you bought an elk tag, which harkens back to the 70s and 60s when we didn't have a management plan.
Mm-hmm.
Different times. So I'm not going to criticize what happened then. That was what it was. But now, the state of Wyoming issues like 80,000 elk tags last year. So they're going to give 80,000 black bear tags out. Or you could have shot a grizzly. They said there are black bear or grizzly tags attached to your elk tag. I said, so you're willingly encouraging your citizens to commit a felony by killing a grizzly bear. They're not off the endangered species list, but it's all posturing to try and get more done for ungulates and kill more predators. Like I don't think they had any intention of the bill passing,
right?
But they wanted to make people notice like, hey, we're not happy with the way you're managing predators. And I'm like, man, Wyoming has done a remarkable job. Like, we have a female mortality quota. We manage pretty conservatively, but we also don't have the landscape like Idaho does.
Right.
Half the state doesn't have bears in it, and so, but that is not just happening in Wyoming. We've seen a lion bill, the same thing with lions in Wyoming. We've seen a lion bill come up in Idaho. And so Utah and kind of the outlook of predators anymore is they kill mule deer and they not so much elk. No one really cares about elk anymore, and that's a problem. I won't say they don't care about them, but man, mule deer draw and sheep.
Yep.
A lot of
those two. That right there, those two, mule deer and sheep.
If you could, do anything on the planet to save mule deer, and it's like, we're going to do everything, even if there's no science backing it. And, we have a bunch of science that says, black bears kill fawns, they kill calves. That's no joke.
Right.
They do it. They kill like a quarter of what coyotes do.
Exactly.
And habitat loss is killing more mule deer than bears ever will.
Yep.
And the overabundance of elk that we have in our landscape, I think, is so bad for our mule deer. Mm-hmm. Like, we are over objective in so many places in the West on elk. And, it's a competition thing. And I just think they push mule deer out. And so, not to get into a mule deer thing, but bears are not the main issue with mule deer. But I think Utah has the potential to bring forth some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it might be harder to cut and get it stopped in a place like Utah that's already had some pretty radical things happen with their wildlife management.
Yep, 100%. That's why I think, like, I wish that we could kind of get ahead of it. Well, actually, you can't even get ahead of it because it's already passed. But, I feel like the further we go down the road, if we don't correct things or try to get on top of things before it gets too far down that road, then we're really going to be hurt, and we're going to be in a bad place. And I feel like bear are kind of the scapegoat. Like, they don't look. Are. I mean, it's not. There's bad winters. There's habitat or lack of habitat. Like you said, I do think there is competition between elk and deer, but people don't really look at that. They look at we got too many lions. Predators. Yeah, exactly. They look at predators.
And it's all balanced, right? You got to kill bears, and if you don't, you end up like Durango, Colorado, where they're just overrunning the town.
Right.
So it's all balanced, but one species should not be eradicated to benefit another. I don't think. We're smart enough. I always say, when people get involved, we ruin everything. Humans are really the problem with everything. Like, if we disappeared today, the deer and the elk and the bears and the coyotes and the wolves, and they would not skip a beat, man. They're just going to live.
Yep.
They
That's
don't need us.
yeah, going back to like
You know?
the impact on animals, really the worst impact on animals right now is the encroachment of the human being and cities over on their habitat and destroying all their habitat.
True.
So if you really want to fix it, that's what you got to do to fix it.
Yeah, and that's why part of the reason we started the foundation was seeing some of this stuff that you're seeing in Utah and other states. We wanted to make sure there was an advocate
Yeah.
for bears and bear hunters. Like, not only for bear hunters, like, we love bears. Like, they're my favorite animal. So I look at it as like they need someone going to bat for them too, like saying like, hey, whoa, they don't kill all the deer.
Right.
They kill 10% in this mountain range of the deer fawns that are killed.
Yep.
Okay, where's the other 90% of the fawn depredation coming from?
Exactly.
Well, it's bear, like just having a voice for wildlife, just like the wild sheep does, Rocky Mountain elk does, the mule deer does. We wanted to be a voice for bears and bear hunters. So,
but I feel like bears have not had hardly a voice. Like if you look at the foundations out there, like how many foundations are set up for elk and deer, mule deer? Like there is a plethora of foundations. They may not say mule deer in their title, but they're there for mule deer. And it's like, okay, I get it. But like bear, I mean, honestly, for me, it's you. That's all I know of. Is you're the really only advocate I know of.
West,
yeah.
To be honest with you. And then the East, you have statewide level. But we're the only national hunting and conservation bear organization there is. And so
crazy.
It's a tough hill to climb, but we love doing it.
It is. Well, man, I hope if I can help in any way, you just keep me posted. I'm not the biggest bear hunter in the world. I would love to be. Bear is something that, I mean, I remember as a little kid talking to my dad about like hunting bear, and I always want to do it. Utah is so hard because it's a draw system. You have to have so many points before you can actually go hunt bear. And by the time you can, you're almost just like discouraged because you don't ever get a chance to hunt it. And so, and to go everywhere else, then it's kind of expensive to do it unless you know somebody that can help you. So, but it's always been something that I've wanted to do, love to do. Bear are intriguing to me. There's just something about a bear that is super intriguing.
They're such a fascinating species. Most people don't give them the credit they deserve as far as just how smart they are. You know what? I always look back at, bears have never been a resource concern in this country.
Right.
We have never had to put black bears even consider, maybe certain states we've had problems, but one thing that's been constant through this country's entire evolution has been we've bear hunted.
Mm-hmm.
And we have more black bears on the landscape than we ever have.
Yep.
So what's that tell you about black bears? Like, they thrive and survive. That species needs to be paid attention to because of what they've overcome and what they continue to manage to do. Like, just are remarkable. And once people bear hunt, they usually, like, you're screwed. When you come back from Saskatchewan, you're going to be in trouble. Because it gets in your blood, man.
Dude, I'm going to be blowing your phone up every year. You're going to get so sick of me, like, messaging you, like, Joe, let's go on bear.
It grabs a hold of you, and it's very different than anything else. And it's a challenge, man. It is very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that we as humans enjoy a good challenge, and you're almost like you're hunting a singular being that is not in a herd, that thinks independently, that thinks differently every day. They're not patternable very easily, And so to me, that is just like, well, I want to hunt something that's like on that level.
Yeah.
And I want to learn about something on that level.
So tell me this, like, going up there and getting this bear, the meat. I mean, how good is this meat? Is this meat that we're gonna want to bring back with us? Like, is it?
I would, man. I love bear meat. We eat it a lot in this house. Like, we don't and I don't have to take it out of the field in Wyoming, which is a major problem I have. But we can leave bear meat in the field in Wyoming. It's
really
not on the books. So, but I take it all out and we eat it and we enjoy it. There's a couple people out there that are doing a great job of debunking all the myths of bear meat. Brett Benton's one of them with MKC, and there's just some fantastic stuff you can do with bear. It's all how you prepare it. It's how you take care of it in the field. If you can take it home, I absolutely would.
Okay.
I look at other places that cherish bear meat like we cherish something else, and I'm like, well, thousands of people can't be wrong about something. We just out west have this. Oh, it's something that we're fighting with really hard right now. Is out west just this demonization of bears and bear meat, and it's a tough thing to deal with, but it's learned over time. Your parents, your grandparents, or your grandpa, uncle were like, "Oh, those bears are no good." It's
Right,
like,
right.
okay, so you don't know, so that's what you think.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you trying it and learning how to. But man, we do sausage. I do roasts. I do like
Really?
I use these big chunks of bear, and I'll do like bear burnt ends. Tastes like
Mm.
brisket burnt ends. Um,
Mm.
the fall bears are the best because they got all that fat, and that fat is like
Oh
gold.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can render it down and use it for so many different things, cooking, boot wax, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in Canada and on the East Coast, like bear fat is literally like gold. People cherish it. And there's a big section of our population of hunters that have never appreciated what they provide resource wise. It's not just a hide,
Right.
but you can also use all the fat.
Uh-huh.
You can use all the meat, and there's just more available to you when you kill a bear than when you kill some species. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, the meat's really good. Now I will say that bear can tend to take on some of the flavors of what they eat. I've in the fall they can get sweeter kind of meat, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what the fat is storing, sugar or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know. Fish bears I heard are terrible. I've never killed
That,
a fish bear, in
I've heard
Alaska.
that.
I've killed some bears in Alaska, but never one that's like eating fish only.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know. And there's probably ways you can cook it and make it work, but
Oh man, like I mean, they're just gonna be eating stuff that whatever I mean, they eat everything else too, but I mean, the bait, a lot of the stuff they're gonna be eating is in the baits and whatnot up there, so it can't be too
I
bad.
think a common misconception too is people think that bears only eat the bait. That they
Oh,
supplement their diet with bait. Like they'll come in and eat
oh,
bait, but
so
they're eating all day long.
it's not all
So
they're
they're just
eating.
eating natural food and then they come in and hit the bait and then they go
Oh,
do something else. And people don't think that, especially the non-hunting community that looks
uh-huh.
at bait. They're like, oh, bear just finds your barrel and somehow it's full all the time without going to it and working your ass off. And then they
Yeah.
just sit there and eat until there's no more food left. I'm like,
Hmm.
no, that ain't how it works. Like, especially big boars, man, they'll cruise by, grab 2 bites, gone. It's like
Really?
they're not living there and eating, they're
Oh.
eating other things and they
Mhm.
supplement with bait.
Oh,
And
see
so,
that I kind of had the
like for
same
you guys,
assumption.
yeah, those bears are going to be eating something else and bait, but I mean, it's not like they're just surviving on what the outfitter puts out there.
That's kind of what I guess I don't know why. I kind of just thought that like yeah, they just like set up shop on that bait all day long and
No,
just
no,
pig out. But
no.
I guess that doesn't
It'll
make
drive
much
you nuts.
sense.
You're like, why? There's all this food here. But
Yeah,
yeah,
interesting. Oh man, well, I guess I mean I really want to bring the meat home, and we can. They said we could bring the meat home. We're driving there. I mean it's a long drive
yeah,
from
there's no
here,
reason
but
you can't. And
yeah,
honestly, like, what's the worst that can happen? You get it home, you try it, you might like it.
yeah.
You might get some cool recipes. We're working on a cookbook
Oh
for
really?
black bear and bear meat. And
Sweet.
there's so many resources out there on social media. If you follow our foundation, we're always sharing people that are like taking like not just cooking roasts and steaks and sausages. I like taking it to the next level. And like bear and sous vide is like the thing because
Really?
you have to cook bear meat to a
Man.
certain temperature, just like pork.
Right.
And so when you overcook wild game, you know what happens? It gets dried out, and bear has a little more fat content than most wild game. It's not as lean, so
Mm-hmm.
you do have some good fat. But like if you overcook bear, because you have to cook it up to a certain temperature for trichinosis, it's going to overcook it. So a lot of people are buying sous vide things, and they're able to bring it up to temperature to kill any bacteria that might come in it, just like pork.
Yeah.
And then they're finishing it off in certain ways, and it's like I think it's really changed that method of cooking has made bear way more open to so many more people.
Oh man. Well, now I'm excited about it. Yeah, I mean, I've heard both. Some of like you said, my family's all like, "Oh, I don't know, it's not that good," and I've had other people like, "It's the best meat that's out there." My buddy that I'm going
Yeah.
with, he's had it before, and he's like, "I don't think I'm gonna bring any home." I'm like, "Dude, give it to me. I'll take it all home, dude. I'll eat it
Yeah.
all."
I think where people get screwed up is they cut a chunk of hind quarter off and throw it on the grill like a steak,
Uh
and it's
huh.
like, well,
Can't do
how many
that.
times do you do that with elk, deer, and antelope?
Yeah.
You might cut the back straps up
Yeah.
and do that.
But that's
It's
pretty
like
much it.
don't try and compare them when you're like, it is not going to be like eating a Wagyu ribeye.
Right.
Okay, so you
Right.
got to get that out of your head. But it's like, man, they just are. There's more things you can do with it. Like I've never made deer and elk burnt ends because there's no fat in the
No.
meat.
Yeah.
Like I've made them off of like fatty pieces of the hind quarter that, you know, you render down for a long time. And I've served it at parties and stuff. People are like, what is it? I'm like, that's bear, man. They're like, no freaking way. I'm like,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
it's gone, you know? And so,
Wow.
yeah, there's some cool things you can do with it. Get a little creative, and it will be out of your freezer fast. I can promise you.
Nice, nice, dude. I'm glad that you and I talked. 'Cause I mean, I've been excited just to go, but now you're making me even that much more excited.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I don't want to take your whole night. I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to talk about this 360 Sportsman. I've had a couple other guests on that are part of 360 Sportsman, including Taylor himself, and you know, honestly, I'm all on board with 360 Sportsman. I think it's the coolest thing out there to be able to get people started. Now, it's not going to finish people. It's not going to give them all the training that they need, but man, it's such a cool thing. And then when I heard that you were going to be part of it, I was like for me personally, like that's in my wheelhouse because, you know, I've hunted all pretty much every other animal out there and feel pretty proficient in those. Bear is one of those things that I just have not. And so when I heard you were going to do a bear class, I'm like, dude, I'm all about that. So I am curious though, like what's your master class going to look like with them?
Yeah, so you know, Taylor and I spoke initially about the American Bear Foundation getting involved and kind of being a partner with them, and I was like,
Oh,
yeah, I'm all in, you know,
yeah.
and kind of love the platform, love the idea. One of the other reasons we started is like we wanted to bring more people into bear hunting because we could create more advocates for bears and bear hunters,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so it's always been a goal of ours to do something like he's putting together for bears, you know, for our fans, members, you know, people that are trying to get into the sport. I talked to a lot of people throughout the year on just the stuff we're going to cover. You know, it's
Uh-huh.
like I don't even know where to look. I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. How do you do this? How do you do that? Like basic stuff, to me, basic stuff.
Right.
Um, and then I remember where I was at in, you know, when I was 17 years old. I'm 45 almost now, you know, and I'm trying to figure out how to freaking bear hunt in Montana. And I don't have anyone in my family that really did it. We all hunted, but no one hunted bear.
Yeah.
And I just remember the struggle of like no one to talk to understand it. And like, man, the internet was still pretty new then. You
Yeah.
know, it's like in 1997, you know, there was not the resources online, books, you know, like you still went to a library in
Mm-hmm.
those days, you know, and so it was really a challenge. And I lot of miserable years of not knowing what I was doing. And so I always just have that in my heart and in my mind of like, there's other people out there that were like me one day and like they want to get into it, and
Yeah.
the barrier for entry for bear hunting is so big.
Yeah. It's intimidating.
It's big, and I think for me, Taylor worked on me pretty hard. I don't like being on camera, and I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, there's probably 10 million guys out there that are better bear hunters than me, and he's like, dude, you just the way that you kind of like carry yourself and how you want to teach people, I think is going to work out good. Let's just try it. Let's try it. And I was like, all right, and yeah, so I've got some big ideas, and I told Taylor, I said, like, it's not going to be a layup. Like we're going to get a harvest on film. I
Mm-hmm.
said, it's tough. I
Right.
mean, and you know, we might have to go multiple times over the course of some time to kind of build this master class out. But I know what the beginning and the end look like, and the middle is going to be just a bunch of information, and basically we're going hunting.
Yeah.
He's taking all his stuff and he's going to take time and he's going to follow me around, and I'm going to teach him with the camera like I would if you were hunting with me or my daughter or anyone about what am I looking at? What am I doing? Why did I pick here? What's the weather? You know, all the different things that go into bear hunting.
Uh-huh.
We're just going to talk through it through multiple days and,
Oh man.
you know, talk about habitat, resources the bears use, you know, and kind of look at it on a spring kind of time frame for like a
Okay.
spring spot and stock hunt, you know, and we'll hunt in Wyoming, which is going to be another challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Time wise for me this year, I was really limited on time available to take. I might have maybe went to Montana with them because I can go up there where there's higher concentration of black bears in certain spots, and you know, but I said, hey, we're gonna go wander through the grizzly maze
Yeah.
and we'll get you some good grizzly footage for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And we'll, you know, the country that I bear hunt in doesn't change how good it is for bears just because there's grizz in it. So I can
Right.
show people like why I'm in these areas and what I'm doing and what I'm looking for and why I picked this time of day, or why did I walk up the ridge this way this time instead of the way we did it yesterday. And picking apart mountainsides, a lot of sitting and glassing, and I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm nervous as all get out for it. I'm not nervous to be on camera. I just want to provide good content for
Right.
the people that are like, hey, this guy supposedly knows what he's talking about, and I don't want him to buy it and be like, what the heck? So
I don't think they will, dude. Because I mean, you said it. Like, a lot of this stuff is really basic to you. It's just what you've done. You've done it since '97. You've been doing it for a really, really long time. Well, it's like, I look at it like deer hunting for me, or even coyote calling. Like, I've coyote called since I was a little kid. I know what to do. I know what to look for, and I just do it. Whereas, like, when it comes to bear, I don't know, what hillside to glass or what drainages to glass. I don't even know, I have no idea what I'm looking for in those things. And so I think a class like this, you may be nervous to do this, but I feel like, just the stuff that you do innately is what people are looking to glean from these courses. So yeah, dude, I honestly wouldn't be nervous if I were you. I think you just do what you do, whether you get a harvest on tape or not. I don't think it really matters. I think people just want to know, like, what are you looking for? What sign are you looking for? Like, and this is a good example, because when I was bear hunting in Colorado, again, had no idea what I was doing. So I kind of hunted like I did elk and deer. I was looking for scat. I was looking for, different drainages that I thought that they would maybe be in. I found a whole lot of elk and deer on that trip, because that's what I was hunting like I was hunting them.
Yeah.
In fact, honestly, Joe, I changed kind of the way I was approaching things about 2 or 3 days into it. And that's when I finally started seeing some bears. And so anyways, I think those things that you just do, and it's just natural for you, is what people are going to be looking for in this course. And I don't know, I think people will get a lot of information from it.
Yeah, and there's one thing that I can talk about for days and hours, and I have some knowledge on, is bears. So I feel like, the however many years I've been bear hunting is all those learned experiences that I can help give people that they don't have maybe 20 years to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can say, like, I can just go through kind of the things, and like, I love to teach people about hunting and stuff like that. So it's going to give me a good opportunity. I love talking about bears. I love talking about hunting bears, everything bears. So it's like, oh, now he'll probably have to edit stuff out because I'll talk too much, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet Taylor, have him come out and just kind of see what we can put together. Every bear hunt is an adventure, and some are insanely boring.
Yeah. That's hunting,
and some
though.
are like your head spinning. It's so crazy. And there's going to be some times where we're going to have some pretty cool experiences out there. I just know it where we're going, and we'll see some beautiful country. And I know we're going to put some good stuff on film. I think for me, like, the ultimate is just trying to get one on film being harvested, so we can do the breakdown on how to break down a bear and process it and do all that stuff. And that's going to be a super important piece of this.
Yeah.
It might not happen like right away. It might be something that we come back to, or I don't know really how it works, but yeah. So we're committed to putting this whole thing together, and I'm super excited, and I can't wait for him to get out here.
What's the time frame on it? When is he going to come out and hunt with you?
Yeah, so we bounced around kind of 2 different windows. So I'm taking a veteran in middle of May, and I kind of have that time. I got to focus on that. And then we're going to probably do early May, or if not early May, we're going to do the back end of May, early June, which really dependent on our snowpack, because some of my early May spots, like if there's too much snow, we won't even be able to access them, let alone, like, the bears will just be probably still in bed. And then that might pivot to like late May, early June. I got some whole different areas that I hunt later in the season, and it's honestly different tactics. So it's going to be, if I had my druthers, like, it would be cool to show like an early spring tactics versus a late spring, early June tactics when the rut starts. And like, I'm doing things way differently then. Instead of just looking at a south-facing sides and where the sun's melting off, now you got to be looking at everything, and boars are moving, and there's different things to look for. And so, I mean, there's just within spring itself, there's so many different things involved.
I honestly had no idea that you did that, like, different. You approached it differently depending on how late can you go into Yeah, into the year.
So in Wyoming, we can hunt until June 15th in most units, unless the
okay.
female mortality quota is met.
Mm,
Most of the units I hunt, we never hit that, just because there's not a lot of guys bear hunting because of the grizzly bears, and we don't have a ton of black bears. But and there's no bait in these areas. The bait areas usually finish up pretty quick. Montana and a lot of places now, I mean, you can hunt into June. Usually, I think the latest I've seen, there's some in, I think Idaho that might go to like the 20th or something of June.
oh wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, there's some work being done, and I'm excited about it. Like, we're trying to get access to bears at different times of year that we normally can't do in the spring, because just spring you're so limited with
Hmm.
snowpack.
Yeah.
And I definitely think there's a population of bears in every state that are not harvested. Like, there's that group that is just like, dude, I live up here. I don't come out of my den until it's almost like the end of the season, middle of May. And then I'm so hard to get to that I don't get chased around in the spring. And then in
Right.
the fall, like, it's just so like trying to figure out ways to gain access to maybe having longer spring seasons. So some of the country that we can't get into, we can start accessing in early June. And my thought was always like, you're not going to have more bear hunters. You're just going to have the lunatics like me that are like, sweet, I can hunt
Let's go.
all of June now. Like,
Yeah.
I won't even hunt May. It's like, and I think that'd be kind of cool, because then you can access some, like, almost, some deeper country,
Yeah.
some really neat remote stuff. And they're doing that in Wyoming with some of their wilderness units, like the Popoagie. You can go in like August 15th
Oh
and start
wow.
bear hunting. And yeah, there's
Wow.
some different things going on in different states, and then they have chase seasons in some other states where you can chase all summer long with dogs. And so
Hmm.
yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome. Well, that's gonna be cool. I think having that class, being able to talk through kind of like, I mean, just talking through some of this stuff, I think is gonna be super helpful. And now for people to really learn how to do it, I think they're gonna need to get out there and be with you. And I'm a hands-on learner, so I
Yeah.
can learn a lot from a video and whatnot. And these master classes are gonna be different than watching a YouTube video, because I mean, be learning from someone that actually knows what they're talking about, because YouTube, you never know what you're going to get. But getting that and then being able to take that to the field, I think is going to be super beneficial. So yeah, I'm looking forward to you talking about bears, because I'm gleaning a lot of information just off this podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and just trying to give people a little bit of a leg up when they get out there, try and be successful. Because I know, it's always that funny thing is like, do you want more bear hunters out there? And like, part of me as the bear hunter is like, no, I don't. But
Yeah.
I know, to make sure that we can bear hunt into the future and that we have bears, like, we need more people,
Yep.
not only in bear hunting, but in hunting in general, and like advocating for what we're doing. The sportsman community needs to be strong, and that includes bear hunters. And so,
Hmm.
like, it's kind of a tough thing. My big thing with Taylor was, I was like, dude, listen, I gotta not have some of these spots be like, like, advertised to the world,
Right.
because,
Right.
I might have taken 5 or 6 years in some of these spots to kind of figure out what I'm doing. And he's like, we can work around that. And I appreciate that, and there's going to be some stuff that, I'm going to sacrifice that, and I don't care. It's going to be for the betterment of what we're doing, and so,
Yeah.
there's always another spot.
Well, the thing about it is, like, going back to, like, people getting involved in hunting. I think there's a lot of people that get, like, they want to be in hunting, and bear hunting is one thing I think a lot of people really want to do. There's something, I don't know what the word is, magical, whatever it is, about bear hunting. But I think a lot of people will start bear hunting and realize, like me in Colorado. I mean, it was a few days of just pure hell. I mean, it was just, I killed myself for those days. And if I wasn't a hardcore hunter, I'd never do it again. Honestly, if that was my first
No.
experience hunting, and especially bear hunting like that, I would never ever do it again. And so I think people need a leg up in some way. Like, they don't need to know your spots. They don't need to
Yeah.
know that. But I think learning a little bit of that knowledge beforehand, like, gives them that leg up. They're like, okay, at least when I go into the field, at least I know what to look for. Because like I said,
Yeah.
I was 2 or 3 days into that hunt before I realized, like, well, I keep seeing deer and elk because that's what I'm hunting. That's I'm using those
Mhm.
skills, and so I got to change what I'm doing. By then I was so pissed that I hadn't seen any bears that it was getting frustrating. But anyways, I think having 360 Sportsman, giving a leg up, preparing people before they go on the field, I think it's not only going to get more hunters, but I think it's going to retain a lot more hunters as well.
I agree. It's just, we as bear hunters especially are usually very very hesitant to give away too much information,
Yeah.
because we look at it as competition. There's not a herd of bears on every ridge and in every drainage, like elk and deer. But I also am like, listen, if two people figure it out or, whatever, I'm like, just call me. I'll go with you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not like I'll take people anywhere, and I've just get more joy out of bringing people hunting and showing them bear hunting and like sharing my passion for it and seeing them light up when they see one or get
Yeah.
one and like how much it means to them. Like, that's everything for me. I don't care if I kill another one as long as I live. Like, I just like doing this. And so I think that's why Taylor was really excited, because like it just lines up with what they're trying to do. Like my kind of overall mindset with it.
Well, and you're also, I mean, not to blow too much smoke up your skirt, but like you have the name too. Like when people think of bear, they think of you because you're so involved in the bear hunting community. And so like you got the clout that comes along with it. So I'm sure Taylor, when he's like, cause I mean, he is going to have quite a few different bear courses in 360 Sportsman. He's going to have a baiting course. He's going to have an Alaska course. He's going to have some different courses in there. But I think when people see you as part of that, it's like, okay, well, if Joe's on there, well, he knows what he's talking about. At least, there's some clout there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it'll be fun. It's going to be it's going to be an awesome experience that I'm really looking forward to. I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to do it.
Well, I'm looking forward to it too. It's, as I've looked at the different courses on 360 Sportsman, some of them like, okay, I like mule deer. I'm very proficient at hunting mule deer. I could teach that class, and but there's a few of them on there. I did a podcast with Tom with Stuck in the Rut about wolf hunting. He's doing a master class
I don't know the first thing.
Yeah, I didn't either until I did that podcast with him, and I learned, just like this one, I learned so much about wolf hunting. I'm like, man, I can only imagine what I'd learned during that master class. And so like I've learned so much in this podcast tonight, just talking about bears, and like I'm like, man, I can only imagine what I'm going to learn from that master class on bear hunting from you. So like I'm so stoked for some of these courses to come out, that just to learn myself.
Yeah, we got to keep learning.
Yeah. We do.
No matter what it's about, we got to keep learning as we get older, especially.
Yep, exactly it. Well, man, I'll let you back to your family and your
buddy.
evening. But hey, when is the course coming out? When's your master class? Do you know when he's planning to release it?
I don't really know. I'm not sure, buddy. I don't know. It just depends on kind of how the spring lays out, I think.
Okay.
I think his plan would be to get it out pretty quickly, but it might. If we get into June and we're still filming, and he might try and like sprinkle it out too. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. He would be the one to talk to. I just said, I'll be the dummy that kind of traipses you around the hills. You can handle all the stuff.
Well, for those people that are listening, I'll try to keep up with it and let you guys know when that class is coming out. Looking forward to it. Maybe resurrect this podcast that we're doing right now as it gets closer to it. But I think right now you can go on and pre-order the master class so that when it does come out, you can
definitely pre-order now. And then there's I'm on there too, so you can, and there's like a link where you can, basically it asks you questions like, what do you want to learn if you were going to have a bear master class? Mm-hmm. Like, how proficient are you? And so that gives us kind of an idea going forward of like, we have a lot of people that don't know this.
Yeah.
So then we can talk to it. And then, from what I understand through Taylor is like, I'll be accessible to those people that buy the master class.
Yeah.
So that also is like, hey, you can call or text me and get into some real weeds with bears and bear hunting. So having that, I was excited for, because I feel like, there's going to be a whole nother level that like, this is going to get you in the door. Mm-hmm. And then there's a whole nother level, and then having people have access, and they've done a good job. They've got an awesome, Instagram. They're on social media. So if like you're not sure when dates are coming and classes are coming out, if you follow 360 Sportsman, like they'll post all the teasers, dates and stuff. And then, on our social media pages, we'll be sharing anything with 360 that I do. So
likewise. And I think pretty much every reel that he puts up, we collaborate on it with Ehuntr. So I think, for those listening, follow American Bear Foundation, follow 360 Sportsman, Ehuntr, all of us. You won't miss a class. I promise you that.
No.
Well, man. All right. I'll let you go, but dude, I'm going to be bugging you now. I'm all about
Please
bears.
Do.
So
I want to know all about Saskatchewan when you get back.
Dude, I'll call you on my way home. We'll chat for a bit.
Please do.
All right, buddy.
Look forward to it. Good luck, man.
Thanks, man. It's good talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Right, see ya.